Before we go, we're just going to take a bit of a preview to the Brownlow Medal. Daisy, this is your domain. How do you see this one unfolding?
Well, I think it was the great man to my left that said it's going to be a tie this year. I think for the first time in a long while, we could have a 2-3 or maybe even 4-way tie at the top that will be decided in the last round of the season. I think Oliver gets the 3 votes in the last game of the year against Geelong, and I think that'll see him be up there with Jack Steele, obviously the Bont. Jack Steele, Oliver, Bont and Wines.
It does seem that way, that they're the 4 that can win it. Clayton Oliver, Bontempelli, Ollie Wines and Jack Steele. I did some study on Monday and had a look through the Brownlow and tried to sort of work out how this one will pan out. I think Clayton Oliver's the biggest threat to Marcus Bontempelli. I think that if he can poll the 3 votes instead of Petrarca in a couple of games, I think Oliver could get up to 35 votes as a maximum and somewhere around 26 as a minimum. Bontempelli's a bit more, you know what he's going to get. He had 7 or 8 clear best on ground games. I think he'll get close to 30. So I think you need to be over 30, which I think Oliver is capable of doing. Ollie Wines is interesting. He's got a big scope duck between what he potentially could poll maximum and minimum. So there are games where he could get 3 votes or a game where he might get 1 vote or not poll at all, depending on how the umpires view it. So he's the one that's got the biggest scope to either finish with 22, 23 votes or finish on 34 votes.
I know you've got your notes in front of you.
Yep.
How many times, so those 4 players, I agree. So they're the 4. But how many times have they kicked multiple goals? I think as soon as you kick, any of those players kick 2 goals and have 25 plus, that's the 3 votes.
So Ollie Wines has only done it once.
Okay, so therefore that writes him out of it.
Bontempelli's the one that's kicked the most. He kicked the most goals of any midfielder this year without looking at how many times he kicked multiple goals.
You only need to have 25, 24, 25, 26 and kick 2 and you'll get the 3.
Yeah, well, Jack Steele, he hit the scoreboard a little bit early on, but not as much as the Bont. He had 25 disposals 18 or more times.
I've just talked myself into it. Bont wins.
Okay, well, there you go. The Ollie Wines one, just his numbers, when you look at them, 2 times he had 43 disposals. He had 16 times over 30 disposals, 8 times over 35. He only had 1 game where he didn't have 25 or more disposals. That is huge numbers. For the size he did, the games that Port Adelaide won, I just expect him to be getting 3s and 2s, and a lot of them in the games where you probably don't expect because there was no one who was clearly better than him. The way they played, it was him or Travis Boak in the midfield. None of their forwards were really kicking bags. I think he's going to be the one for Port.
How many goals, Oliver?
He didn't kick a hole. He kicked 3 in 1 game.
Petrarca's the one for Oliver, and he'll obviously poll really well. But if Petrarca, who did hit the scoreboard, if he takes the 3s and Oliver's only getting the 2s, that's going to hurt
This is
him.
the slight concern for Clayton Oliver, is that last year, Petrarca polled in 7 games. He polled 6 3 voters. So Petrarca might be the 3 vote getter. Oliver might get the 2. That might cost Oliver. Damo?
Forget about this year's Brownlow. I want to go back historically over the Brownlows that you guys could have won and didn't. And now I've done some research, and that research is on the back of basically a text that Rabsy sent me about 20 seconds ago, boys. So now, of the 3 of you who played footy at the highest level, and one of you was described as the best player in the comp there by Mick Malthouse back in, actually Ross Lyon, when he was playing for Mick Malthouse back in 2010-11. So the career votes for the 3 of you guys: Duck, 126. Joey, 106.
Daisy, 200.
Daisy, 21 at Collingwood, 2 at Carlton.
And I'll tell you why that is, Damo, because I used to give the umpires a fair old spray. And I told you this story. I obviously got fined once. I had to go see a counsellor to address how I spoke to the umpires. So anytime I speak about umpires, I had to use the word ref to disarm my head from going bunter and giving them both barrels. So that's why umpires have no idea their standing in the game is horseradish, and the Brownlow's a made-up award.
No, I was fairly verbal with the umpires too, and by the way, very embarrassed about it now, given the way the players treat and how they should treat the umpires. But to give you an example, Damo, I reckon there was a game, I don't know what year it was, but David King off a halfback flank had, 28 or something, and took 8 bounces. I kicked 6 and had 28 possessions and took 14 marks and got the 2 votes, and Kiggy got the 3. That's when you know you're never going to win a Brownlow medal, when that happens, when a halfback flanker's getting votes and you're
fair
not.
enough. I only had 47 in one day and only got the 2 votes as well. So I know what that feels like, Duck. It's happened to us all, mate. It's happened to us all. And I'm sure, Daisy, you had plenty of games.
I obviously had a lot more of those.
I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what is embarrassing, though, which none of you guys had. And that is when you roll up there in your tuxedo and the limo and your favourite, and you don't get anywhere near 4 or 5 times, and you just lose. You lose all your confidence.
At least Daisy and I could go to a Brownlow knowing we could drink as much as we liked, and we didn't have to worry about preparing any speeches or anything like that. So just before we go, wrapping up, Damo, who do you think will win the Brownlow medal?
I've loved the Bont since his second season of 2015. He could have won one before now, and I reckon this is the year that he will.
3-way tie.
Bont, Oliver.
Bont, Oliver,
Wines or Steele?
And Steele.
Steele. You think Ollie Wines?
Daisy Thomas is the Oracle.
4-way tie. Wine, Steele, Oliver, and the Bont.
Good. That's good. I think...
So you've just added one onto mine.
Yeah.
That's why it's a 4-way tie, not a 3-way tie. And if I didn't think that, I would have taken 2 off.
Daisy, I want to put this one. Can I get that as well? Here's the Oracle. Me.
Daisy Thomas is the Oracle.
Marcus Bontempelli will be leading going into the last round.
Yes.
Oh.
Melbourne, 3 votes. C. Oliver, and he'll win it in the final round. He'll pick Marcus Bontempelli, round 23. It'll be an amazing vote count.
What about everyone wants their Oracle things?